All right, let's talk about real estate investing. If you've ever stood in front of a property and thought, hey, I can flip this, you know it's a world just full of incredible potential, but also just as many risks. Today, we're going to dive into a tool that's built to tackle that uncertainty, turning those risks into really clear, calculated rewards.
I mean, this is the big one, isn't it? The million-dollar question. And sometimes that's literal. You're looking at a house, trying to predict the future. Is this going to be the deal that makes your year, or is it going to be the one that absolutely drains your bank account? It feels like a total gamble, but does it really have to be?
You know, the secret to going from a gambler to a really savvy investor? It's right here. It's not about gut feelings or just, hoping for the best. It's about the data. The answer to whether a property is a gold mine or a money pit is always buried somewhere in the numbers. The trick is knowing where to look and how to make it all make sense.
So let's start by just being honest about what we're up against. We're calling this first part the real estate gamble, because let's face it, without the right tools, that's pretty much what it is.
Think about it. Every single deal is just this storm of different variables. You've got the purchase price, the renovation costs, your financing, closing fees, taxes. It is a lot to juggle. And the real danger is that just one tiny miscalculation, one hidden cost you didn't see coming, can be the domino that makes your entire profit just disappear.
So, what's the number one place where all that money can just vanish? Well, more often than not, it's the renovation itself. And that brings us right to our next section, budgeting the rehab.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, this is where so many deals go wrong. The renovation budget is an absolute beast. I'm talking hundreds of different line items, material costs that change every week, and all those lovely unexpected surprises hiding behind the drywall. If you get this part wrong, your deal is pretty much sunk from the very beginning. So how in the world do you tame that beast? Well, you give it some structure. This right here is a look at the Rehab Budgeter, and its whole job is to bring order to that chaos. Instead of one big, scary, overwhelming number, you break it all down, piece by piece, from huge things like the roof, all the way down to the flowers in the garden.
And look, the idea here is actually pretty simple, but man, is it powerful. You categorize every expense, track how much you need and what it costs, and you see all your totals update as you go. It turns that chaotic mess of a budget into a clear, organized plan where every single dollar has a job to do before you spend a dime.
Okay, so you've wrangled the rehab budget. Nice. But that's only one piece of this giant puzzle. The next huge variable is your financing, which brings us to Section 3, modeling the scenarios. Now, this is where things get really interesting and super important. What happens if you can get the property for, say, $10,000 less? What if your interest rate is just 0.5% higher? Or what if you go with a totally different lender? Every one of these little decisions sends a ripple effect across the entire project's profit.
And this is how you can actually see those ripples happen in real time. Instead of scribbling numbers on a napkin one at a time, you can build out up to 3 completely different scenarios and see them right next to each other. It's like a financial sandbox where you can play out every what if without risking any actual money.
And that's the whole point, right? You can tweak all these key variables, your after-repair value, the purchase price, even how many months you plan to hold the property, and instantly see how it impacts your bottom line. This is how you find that sweet spot, the absolute best way to structure the deal for maximum profit. All right, now for the grand finale of your expenses, the one that so many people forget about until it's way too late. Let's get into Section 4, calculating the capital gain.
Seriously, it's wild how often this happens. You can do everything else perfectly. I mean, negotiate an amazing price, nail the renovation budget, get great financing, but if you forget to account for taxes, you are going to be in for a very, very painful surprise come sale time. So what the heck is a capital gain anyway? Well, to put it simply, it's your profit. It's the difference between your final sale price and what's called the adjusted cost base, which is just a fancy way of saying your purchase price plus all the other costs you sank into it, like all those renovations and closing fees.
Now, I know calculating this can feel super complicated, but it really doesn't have to be. This tool makes it incredibly simple. You just plug in your numbers, purchase price, closing costs, renovation spend, sale price, and it does all the heavy lifting for you.
And check this out. This is a huge takeaway. In Canada, when you're an individual, you typically only pay tax on half of that total gain. Just knowing that one rule can totally change how you plan for a project's finances.
And boom, there it is. After all the numbers are in, for this example, the total gain comes out to a very, very healthy $275,000. Seeing that final number just clear as day like that, it is unbelievably powerful.
So, we've wrestled the rehab budget into submission, we've modeled our financing, we've calculated our taxes. Now let's pull it all together in our final section, from guesswork to confidence.
You know, this is where the magic really happens. All of those different pieces we've just talked about, the rehab details, the financing terms, the monthly carrying costs, they don't live on 10 different messy spreadsheets. Nope, they all flow together automatically into this one easy-to-read dashboard.
Because all of that analysis, all those numbers and variables, they all get funneled down to one single critical answer: the total cash you need out of pocket to close the deal. This is the moment you go from just thinking you can afford a deal to knowing you can't.
And really, that's the whole goal here, taking this incredibly complex, often stressful process and just making it simple, making it clear and totally manageable. It's about turning that risk into a calculated, data-driven reward. So I'm going to leave you with this one thought. When you can just remove all the guesswork, when you have this kind of clarity and this much confidence in your numbers, what does that free you up to achieve? When the numbers are this clear, what will you build?